Welcome to Your American Dream. I'm Anisha Jennings, and today I'm so excited to welcome a fellow website designer strategist, Ari K, the CEO and head of strategy at Chykalophia, the website conversion agency helping brands bring their ideas to life and transform their websites into platforms for growth. With over 14 years of experience, Chykalophia has helped 250 plus businesses achieve $1 million successes through high quality web design, branding, and UX services. Ari, co author of the bestseller Made to Sell Creating Websites That Convert, actively supports female entrepreneurs through various organizations and as a board member at DePaul University's Coleman Entrepreneurship Center. Cyclophia's expertise is recognized by Verizon Small Business, Digital Ready, Gold House Ventures, and SPDC. Ari has been featured in the Forbes, Thrive Global, and Buffer. Recently, Cyclophia was named to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's CO 100, America's top 100 small business list, cementing their industry leadership. Cyclophia stands out with WBENC certifications, award-winning work, and a 5-star clutch rating. Welcome, Ari. That was a long introduction, but that's amazing. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting. I'm so glad that we finally are doing this.
Yes, I know. I think we booked this
Summer,
episode
right?
yes, summer, and we're recording in fall. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time. So tell us about your journey on how you started your early life in the US and what did that look like and what was growing up? What did that look like?
Man, yeah, this definitely takes me back. I was growing up in Bali, just always dreaming of seeing the world. So, for those who don't know me, I was born and raised in Bali, Indonesia. And as you know, in Bali, it's like, oh, it's beautiful. It's like, why are you even here in Chicago? Well, people ask me that all the time, especially now that it's getting colder. It's like, yeah, it is cold. But here's the thing, though, there's so much more to achieve here in the US, right? And when I was growing up in Bali, I always feel like there's this limit that kind of like being put on me because I'm a woman, right? All of our culture revolves around patriarchy, and growing up, while my family is very open minded and really like advocate for me to go to higher education and just really reach my dream. I just finally realized that I need to get out. So I moved here to Chicago in 2011, got married with my love of my life. And that's
Oh,
yet
wow.
another story. But, as soon as I got married, I was presented with yet another idea from my husband. It's like, "Hey, do you wanna build a company together?" And I was like, "Sure, what could go wrong?" I mean, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. I just didn't know that at the time.
Mhm.
But I think that's a lot of us, right? Feeling that, "Hey, this is gonna be really fun. This is exciting. This is our passion." And we build our business from that passion, right?
Mhm.
And I think it really says a lot about me and my husband because we've been doing this like for 14 years. Of course, it's not a smooth sailing journey. There is a lot of ups and downs, but what I can tell you is that when you lean so much to your passion and you will figure things out, you will do whatever it takes, be like learning as much as you can, even though you don't have an MBA.
Mhm.
And just like figuring out what could this business be if your heart truly is in it.
Absolutely. So well said. And that's what is like very challenging for when you start a small business, you're an entrepreneur. It's like, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. But then it is a lonely journey and it takes so much effort, and finding your community, finding your tribe is so important. So take us back to what inspired your journey into branding, web strategy, and UX design.
Ooh, this is fun. Gosh, I am how do I say this? I'm so grateful because I felt like I am working on the things I truly love doing, right? And I don't think a lot of people are lucky that way because they might, go to college and then they pick a different major and then they realize that's not what they want to do. Or they go to corporate and realizing that this is not what I thought it was gonna be, and then they switch up, right? So to me, I think I did not realize that I wanted to be a designer. So growing up in Bali, everything is all about tourism, right? Tourism this, tourism that, become a manager at a hotel or like become a tour guide. I was like, I don't see myself doing any of that. And Just so happened that in my, last year in high school as a senior, I was just like dreaming to not take any more lessons and not going to high school, sorry, not going to university. Whereas my parents was like, no, you have to go. It was like, you are the first, in our family to go to college. I'm like, that is such a big burden, on me, but I know what they're saying, right? But the thing is that I don't even know how we're gonna be able to afford going to college. But my mom, she found this like a scholarship opportunity where I could easily get it. And I did got in. The thing is that my heart is not in it.
Oh,
And at an early age, I'm a rebel, right? I know what I want and I'm gonna get what I want to some degree. So I told the judges, like, it's great that you guys gave me this scholarship, but honestly, I'm gonna go to art school. And they're like, say what now? That was me, like, really advocating, it's like, "I wanna be a designer. I wanna be a graphic designer." And luckily, they introduced me to an actual graphic designer in-house for I
wow.
think it was, at the time, Westin Hotel in Bali. And I start envisioning like you know, me growing up, right? I could envision myself becoming this designer. So that was my first journey into like understanding like what I truly want to be. And then of course from there there's a lot of different ups and downs, but that was my first introduction into, the design, the marketing, the advertising world. And then, after graduating from art school, I started becoming a actual graphic designer, right? Starting as an assistant and then learning all the ropes and stuff like that. Got super fascinated with all things digital, including website. I just found that, the internet, especially
Right.
during, website, the web one, and then we have the web two and stuff like that. It was so fascinating. So I ended up like learning that UI UX design as soon as it was, coming up in the 2009, 2010, and then a lot more like user interface design for mobile, web application, all those different things. I feel like there's this like ladder in my own journey, right? A lot of people, they would like climb the ladder in the corporate. I was just climbing the design ladder, to be honest with you. So like starting as graphic designer, then move up, move up, move up, all the way to like really understanding branding, marketing, and business strategy. So that's honestly how everything got started.
Beautiful. I love that story. And I love that you mentioned that you're doing something that you studied and you've stayed on. So, when you met your husband, is he in the same field as you? How did you guys decide on what to do with the business?
He is the complete opposite, honestly.
Wow.
I'm the creative, he's my nerd, right? So really, when we started getting together, he was already doing his own consultancy, doing website development, a lot of like, technology strategies and stuff like that. Whereas I'm mainly on the creative side of things. When we decided, okay, let's, do this together, it was more about us combining both of our skill set, right? Very complementary skills and,
Beautiful.
thoughts as well as like expertise. And it worked to some degree because I'm gonna tell you the first few years, in business, it was very challenging just trying to understand what are our roles, right? And setting that boundaries and stuff like that. At a point, it was getting very bad. I was telling him how to code, and he was
Yeah.
telling me how to design. I was like, this is not what we're supposed to do. So, immediately we're trying to figure out, okay, this is not working. What should we do? So, we had a mentor, that helped us really, seeing things a bit more clearly. Like, do we really want to stay working together? Do we really want to keep building the business? All the answers lead to yes. So we were just like figuring it out. How can we make sure that we have, separate boundaries, separate roles? So you'll start seeing, different separation in terms of like when, we have specific project, everything related to technology that will be led by Peter, my husband, right? Whereas everything else that is not technology, that will be me primarily. So it's very clear and we have our separation in the departments inside the company as well.
Beautiful. So there's a lot of, like you've explained, right, challenges of a couple starting a business together. And there's a lot of challenges when you're starting a business between like your marriage and the business. It's very hard to establish those boundaries and make sure you keep both on a healthy level. So give us a little bit of insight and tips on how you guys were able to set those boundaries and,
Mm.
build this beautiful business.
Yeah. Number one, definitely don't stay in one room together. Right? But hey, we were in our 20s, building the business and we couldn't really afford like bigger apartments or even like, separated space or even like, like co-working space and things like that. So we were like literally in one room. We call it the office, right?
Right.
And it was like us side by side working. That was not gonna be the way to go. So if you're decided and you're still doing that, please make sure to like invest in some sort of like extra space for your sanity, right? And also your relationship. So definitely that. And I think the biggest part is really understanding like what are your skill set,
Hmm.
right? What are you really good at and what is the other person really good at?
Right.
Because then you don't have to do things, together all the time because that is not the best use of your time. You need to be more efficient, right? Become a bit more streamlined in terms of like who's managing what and how to hold them accountable. So I think that's what some of the things that we did not do very well in the beginning. And now that we know, it's makes a lot more sense, right? You know exactly who you need to go to in terms of like a particular issue and who's really like taking the lead on that. So I think that, but also the other parts that I'm learning from our journey is that, seeing your spouse or your loved one or even maybe like family, right? And best friends, if you ended up, becoming business partner, there's this layer of different perspective that you need to remember it's 2 separate relationship, essentially.
Right.
You can't merge that into one relationship, right? Because when you start merging that into one relationship, things start getting blurry and you don't have a separation in terms of like what is personal and what is business.
Right.
Sometimes business does not need to be personal,
Yes.
right? So, and I think we forgot about that oftentimes. So, remembering that part has been always, something I fall back into whenever I realize, okay, is that personal? Is that business, right? Can
Yes.
we kind of separate that a little bit more.
That's amazing advice. So, as an immigrant woman, when you started your journey and then you started your business, tell us a little bit about like, what was the thought process? Why did you think about, okay, I should start my own thing? Or what led to it? And what were the challenges and how did you overcome them? I'm sorry, there were so many questions there.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I think, ultimately it's all about your choices, right? And what feels right to you. When I decide to leave, my home country, my friends, family, all the comfort, things that I have growing up, and just like embarking in this journey, not knowing, okay, what's going to happen to me? Like, who will I meet and stuff like that? I don't know anybody else beside, my husband and his circle of friends and his family. So it was very interesting feeling like coming here and especially the first month or two trying to understand like what am I supposed to do, right? Like where do I go and things like that.
And I'm sure you had challenges. So, how did you overcome them?
Oh goodness, lots of challenges, right? My husband would joke like, "Okay, you're fresh off the boat," especially like as soon as I got to Chicago and things like that. The thing is, when you leave your family behind, your friends and your comfort that you have, grew up with for so long, coming to a new country, especially to the United States, was a lot of, friend uncertainty, mainly because, I am Asian. I look Asian. So whenever I decide to go to like different places or like events and stuff like that, or even like business community that I try to, enter, I think it was very challenging in the beginning because I felt like I don't belong in that room, right? Not really seeing people who look like me back then, 14 years ago. Today, you might see a lot more diversity and things like that in different rooms, different events, and stuff like that. But back then, it was really challenging because I felt like maybe I don't need to go to any of this event. Maybe I'm not welcome here, or maybe I
Right.
actually just don't belong there. But luckily, my mentor really was very passionate in making sure that I don't think that way, right? Because, like, no, you need to show up. And she reminded me not only that you need to show up for yourself, but you also showing up for others, right? So I was such a big believer, like, knowing that, yes, I'm also going to show up for other Asian women or any other, like, woman of color out there who wants to join this particular event. So I just felt like it was very interesting beginning, but it just become a I guess like something that you hold on to and it becomes, something that you can feel very confident knowing that yes, I am showing up for who I am and what I can really deliver or bring value to others. So that was really is the beginning, and I was very fortunate being supported by all the other women entrepreneurs and women business community here in Chicago. They are amazing. I don't think I would have a business that I have today without the support they had from me in the beginning.
Beautiful. So one thing that I'm hearing from this answer is about mentorship. So tell us a little bit about why mentorship is so important and, why everybody should have a mentor.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say, mainly because I did not grow up having a mentor, right? In a third world country like Indonesia or Bali and things like that, where, you don't see a lot of woman empowerment back then. Things are changing now, which I'm very thankful for that. But I wish I had mentor when I was a teenager, when I was 10 years old, right? So that I can have somebody that I can really look up to beyond people within not my network, within my family, circle of friends and things like that. But coming here, just realizing that there are so many different resources, and having mentor was just like one of it.
Right.
So I felt like if you don't have a mentor just yet, I think that is a very important start, mainly because you're learning from all their learnings and all the mistakes that they have made. Oftentimes, my mentor would tell me, okay, don't make the mistake I did, and here's a shortcut. And you're
Right.
really just like learning from the mistakes that they have done, the things that really create success for them. So it really it's more about like you getting a shortcut access, not just to their experience, but also to their network. So I felt like it was so incredibly powerful knowing that your mentor can be there as a place for, sounding board, like really hearing your challenges and even like introducing you to opportunities.
Right. Right. That's so well said. Because when you invest in mentorship, they have already walked that path, right? So they help, like you said, give a shortcut to
Yeah.
their mistakes or their learnings, which is great. So now let's dive into your business, which is website. So we'll start with the basic question. Why does anybody need a website? I
Gosh.
hear this a lot. I hear this a lot.
Yeah.
Why do I need a website? I have a business. I have a business card. Why
Yeah.
do I need a
Yeah.
website? Right. So
You don't need a website
yeah,
actually.
yes. And that's what I say. Like, it depends on your
Yeah.
goals. You don't really need a website, but it all
Exactly.
depends on your goals and your vision. But I will
Yeah.
let you answer that.
Yeah. So I'm not a type of person who like to convince people, to be
Right.
honest with you, right? I think everything starts with what your needs are and what your goals are.
Yes.
So for many of the times people ask me, okay, Ari, why do I need a website? You probably don't if you asking that question,
Yes.
right? Because with technology today and all the systems and even AI and automation and stuff like that, you probably don't even need a website. However, if you feel that you have a very particular audience that you are trying to attract, trying to either influence or really, essentially target for your business, then you might want to start looking at what are the proper channels you want to establish, be it on social media with, any TikTok shop, Instagram shop or whatever type of e-commerce built into those platforms. Or maybe even, your own website. Now, the thing is, different platforms have different pros and cons, right? There is no right or wrong, to be honest, but what
Yes.
is going to be learned, a particular goal that you do want to have is to make sure that you have a concentrated place where you can house information and data about your business. Now, social media, you don't own all of this data. The main
Right.
reason why social media is free is because those data belong to company of those social media,
Yes.
right? And at any given time, they can take your account, they can take all the data that you have, and those followers is not yours. So
Right.
unless you have a dedicated platform, for example, like a website or even like email and newsletter, right? You don't own your audience.
Yeah.
So just to kind of like help you picture in terms of like who are some of the audience that you really want to attract and how do you want to stay engaged with them, stay on top of mind as well as really owning the data and information that you would want to keep.
Right.
Now, thinking about down the line, if you want to sell your business and stuff like that, of course, that could be one of the big things people can look for, right? Your book of business, your followers, or maybe like people that you have within your database. that
Right.
could be part of your selling proposition as well when exiting. So I think there's a lot of different things in there. Again, what I would say, just think about the goal and then, go from there.
Yes, perfect. That is so well said. I love that you emphasized about data, that you don't own the data when you put it out on social media. Somebody else owns it. Thank you for sharing that. So tell us a little more about what are some common or the most common mistakes that you see business owners make with their website.
Oh my goodness, Anisha, this is an interesting question because I feel like there are so many different
Yes.
mistakes, right? The most common that I would say is that oftentimes people have this perception that once you build it, people will come, right?
Yes.
That is not true. And believe me, because it also happened in real life. If you just like build up a brick and mortar business, right? You have a actual storefront. Just because you have it, people is not just gonna come. Yeah, maybe here and there people, stumble upon your site and then it's like, oh, what is this? But are they really your customers? You don't know about that, right? So I think the misconception is that okay, just build it and then they will come. That's definitely not true. You still need to understand where are your customers coming from? How do they learn about you? Like, where are you driving traffic from? Is it
Right.
SEO? Is it search? Is it Yelp? Is it something else, right? There's so many channels out there. And I don't think people have a full understanding in terms of like what is a user journey truly look like for their business. And
Right.
there are gaps in terms of like how do they really coming to you and only hoping that, yeah, I hope like more people's gonna come because we have X, Y, and Z on the website. It's like, no, you have to drive the traffic and figure out where these channels are going to be so that you can funnel them into your website. The other thing that I also tend to see from other people and businesses and customers as well, they would say that, "Hey, I have my business ready. I have my legal, documents ready and set. Okay, now the website, and then ta-da, I am done." It's like your website is never done, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, it's never
But
done.
I don't think people knows that as much, right? Because the perception is always that you have this checkbox, right? That you
Right.
have to like, okay, I got this done. I got this done. It's like, but any entrepreneurs know this, right? You constantly work on your business, figuring out how can we make this better? How can we deliver our service and products to our customers, really making their life better? And that also, at the end of the day, comes down to everything within your business, including your website. I've
Right.
seen businesses losing, leads, losing trust because their website did not keep up with their growth,
Right.
right? So they would say like, "Oh my god, this is so embarrassing to show people my website. Help me figure out, how to make this better."
Yes.
Don't let that happen to you because you never know how an opportunity really coming sometimes from within your network, within, the campaigns that you're pushing, and maintaining those presence online could be very beneficial because it could lead to so many different successes. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for putting that in perspective. And it is so true. It is like there's so many sides to it and it's not like a one and done. And yes, because just because we build it, it's done. Like you said, there's so much to it. So for someone listening who feels really overwhelmed by tech, what's the first step they should take to improve conversions?
I feel like a lot of people say that, okay, in order for me to improve conversion, I got to figure out all of the different technology and, crazy strategies and stuff like that. Actually, not really. A lot of them comes down to user experience, right? So
Right.
think of it this way. If you come to a new website that you never actually learned about before, the first thing that comes to mind is like, what is this website? That is
Right.
the first thing in your mind, right? And after that, you're probably going to start understanding like, okay, is this for me? Is it for my family? Is it for somebody else? And if any of those resonate with you, you're going to keep scrolling.
Right.
Now, you have to understand that when you design your website, it is made for a very particular person,
Right.
your target audience. It is not for everybody. If you're still thinking that your website is for everybody, then all of your messaging and copy and even like visual in it probably is not going to land to any of your target audience
Right.
because it's not really speaking to them, right? But if you remember any given time when you browse a website and you feel like, oh my God, yes, I need this right now. Let me just buy it, right? That's a great website because they know your pain point. They
Right.
know how to really target that pain point and really address it, making sure that they can provide the actual, solution, be it product, be it services, and you buy it on the spot,
Yes.
right? So take a look at that. I mean, honestly, it's more about just like guiding people throughout the web page, right? Really giving them all the information that they truly need, not in a way that you would write a novel,
Right.
but at least to some degree, you like break down some of those content very, how do I say this? Like more in a snackable
Yes.
sections, right? So that it's easy to digest for people, really easy to navigate. And most importantly, people can actually click on the call to action and
Yes.
then move on to the next steps.
Yes. Leading your user through the next steps is so important.
Oh,
Thank you for
yeah.
sharing that. So, tell us about your business has helped over 250 businesses reach $1 million success. What does that milestone mean to you?
That is a really good question. To me, I think it's more about reaching the impact that I want to reach, right? I started off with helping a couple of businesses at a time and then just like really seeing like man there was a lot of different businesses that we have worked with in the past, really like creating the impact that not only our business want to deliver for them, but also their business are able to deliver impact to their own target audience, right? So just seeing that ripple effect has always been so fascinating to me. But what I'm going to tell you is probably going to sound very cliche to some degree because whenever we talk to our client and then just finally help them see the vision come to life, and the moment that they would say like, oh my god, yes, this is what I have been dreaming, it's in the back of my head but never actually materialized. Okay, I can't say that word. You get what I'm saying. Okay,
Yes.
ESL here, so that it got me some slack, right? So it just always feels like we hit it, right? We hit the nail on that because we really finally help them move forward with their business and just finally delivering the right impact for their brand into the world. So I think those are the big thing that I feel is very important for us as our mission so that we can really help more, businesses drive more impact that way.
You're like nailing it. Your answers to these questions are like perfect. It's like this is scripted, but it's not. Like I didn't know what I'm gonna ask you. You didn't know what I'm gonna ask you, but it's like it's so perfect. Just it shows like, it shows you're the person you are, and it's just brilliant. So tell us about your book now. You have co-written the book Made to Sell. What led you to write the book, and how did that come into being?
Man, Anisha, I smile because to be honest with you, there wasn't really a hidden agenda with the book, except you're using it as a marketing tool. But the thing is, my husband has always bugged me about this idea of like, go write a book, Ari. He's like, wait, why am I the one writing a book? Like you're part of the business too. And we keep putting it off because I just felt like there wasn't really the right time to do that. And then pandemic happened, right? And we start making a lot of content
Right.
and we start doing a lot more webinars and stuff like that. So I have this like accumulative of content spread out everywhere. And I thought about the idea of writing the book, but then again, like, things just keep popping in. I have to put out fires and things like that.
Yeah.
And somebody reached out to me on LinkedIn and simply say like, "Hey Ari, I help businesses like yours, write a book people can't put down." I was like, "What?
Beautiful.
Okay, I gotta talk to this person." And after I talked with this, and he ended up becoming our book editor, the thing is that I knew that I needed help, right? I think it was like, the universe is telling me, go do this now. You have so much content. Just like figure out what to do with this person. So I, pitched it to my husband and then I could have sworn that he would say no to this. And I was like, yes, we don't need to write a book. And he's like, it's gonna be my way out. And then he says, like, great, let's do it. I was like, wait, we're doing it? So that was the story. But really just like thinking back and understanding like what do I really want this book to be, right? Because we just have a lot of experience with people in the past. Either they are burned by different vendors, or they just feel like they weren't equipped to build a website themselves, and they lose a lot of money trying to figure out what to do in the process. And I just felt like you need to at least read this book to understand the high level strategy before you even start investing in a website, because like what you mentioned earlier, right, your website is never going to be done. It's
Yes.
always going to evolve, it's going to continue, it's going to need maintenance or whatever else in the future. So I think you definitely need to start with that strategy, and people always forget about that high level strategy in the beginning. And that was basically it. We just feel like, okay, why don't we just make sure that everybody have a good handbook in terms of like figuring out what to do with the website so that they can further their business.
Right. Awesome. That's such a fun story. And I want to highlight one point there is the person reached out to you and you were like, okay, this is my time. I need this and it happened. So kudos to the person for reaching out, right?
Yes.
Which goes to show that we have to keep reaching out and telling people about what we do and make
Yes.
those connections because you were not going looking for someone. He or she, he, right?
Yeah.
Apparently sent you the message and then you were like, okay, that's the right time, let's go. So I just want to highlight that there that we got to keep reaching out and making the connections and talking to people. That is so much very essential part of business. So tell us, what is the biggest takeaway you want business owners to learn from the book?
The biggest takeaway is to make sure that you have a particular goal for your business, right? Don't build a website just because you need a website. You
Yes,
have to have a goal for the website. If the goal for your website is to simply let the audience know, or your target audience and your user know about your business in general, and it becomes a brochure essentially for your website, and that is okay. At least you know exactly what is the goal of your website, right?
exactly.
And then from there, you could evolve to maybe making sure that, okay, we want to maybe get more bookings from, the website, maybe you're a B2B company and stuff like that. That is yet another valid goal that can really help, support your marketing efforts and your sales efforts as well. And then for e-commerce, you already know what you need, right? From a
Yes,
website, yet you need more sales. So always start with a goal for your website, knowing that this will play a role in your business, not just, yet another thing you have to
maintain.
no, maintain.
Yes, right. So, why do so many websites struggle to convert even though they look visually very appealing? What
Yeah.
is the key?
Yeah. Oh, I love this one. You have lots of great questions. And this
Thank
one,
you.
I really love this question in particular because I think it's very easy, especially in the age of AI, right? You just tell AI to create a website for you and tada, it will be finished. The issue with that is that it's just like any other generic type of templates, right?
Right.
You pick a template, you add in your stuff, and you'll be done with it.
Yes.
The issue with that is there isn't really a full overview in terms of like what is the goal of the website unless
Right.
you go through all of those and have a clarity in terms of like what you want to convey on your website. Then by all means, you can use AI as a way to maybe bootstrap your business. Maybe this is your first year in getting things done, right? Just wanted to launch a business and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. The issue
Right.
that you have to keep in mind is that you'll still need to make sure that you deliver a particular measurable goal, right? Or getting that from your website, because then it's not just an effort that you just put in the ether of the internet, right? And looking at aesthetic in particular, there's a lot of beautiful themes out there. All you have to do is
Yes.
just like swap out, some of this imagery. But that's also where it falls short, right? Unless you are a graphic designer or maybe you work with someone who can help you in modifying some of the imagery to kind of keep the consistency and maybe like overall theme and stuff like that, then it might be going to be challenging for you to kind of keep the consistency of the previous theme that you pick and then your brand. That's oftentimes people would say like, oh, I pick a team, it looks great, but my brand doesn't look like it. Why is that? So that's one part. The other part is the length of your content or copy, right? Oftentimes you'll see like a lot of websites have very lengthy copy and they're just like, what are you trying to do here? Like, do you want to tell me quickly about your business or do you want me to read a novel? So I think being smart in terms of like balancing the assets of like your imagery, your video, maybe even your social proof and stuff like that with your content or copy, making sure that it really speaks to your target audience and it's not all about you, even though you are the business,
Right.
and really just like hitting that pain point for your target audience before leading them to your call to action.
So I'm sure like, people who build websites, we can completely relate to everything you were saying and it's so essential, critical and crucial. So you're deeply involved in supporting female entrepreneurs. Why is this mission so important to you?
It is simply because one, my mom has always been the biggest advocate for me growing up, right? She was the one who really just like, defending me and advocating for me that I will send my daughter to higher education no matter what, even though all of her friends was saying that, oh, she's gonna end up in the kitchen anyway. I was like, no. So I think just like hearing that was very empowering for me. But also coming here and being supported by other female founders and business owners, and my mentors are primarily women as well. And it just really shows that there is this push from all of us, right? Women to really lift up each other. And I think for me, it's really important because I'm also the first out of three girls, right? I have two
Wow.
younger sisters. So it has always been something that my parents would tell me to do. And it's like, be the example for your sisters, she's gonna look up to you and all that kind of stuff. And it's just embedded in my head, knowing that somebody's gonna look at me and what I do and get inspired by it, right?
Right.
And I think it is so powerful because I also do the same. I look up to all the other successful women and businesses out there because I want to be like them. So I think just giving back in a way, whether it's the mentorship, it's like really speaking and doing, interviews like this, I think it's so powerful because our stories really help others see what possibilities could be
Yes,
for them. So
absolutely.
if I can do it, anybody else can do it, right? As long as you have that drive, as long as you have that passion. So I'm a big believer in that. You can do what you want to do, and you have the power to do that.
Yes, beautifully said. So, what does the American dream mean to you today as an entrepreneur, as an immigrant woman, and a CEO of a nationally recognized company?
This is a hard question. I have to tell you that I don't necessarily know if this is an American dream as such, right? I need to really maybe think about this a bit more. But to be honest, I want to just simply have a flexibility for myself, for my family, right? I want to be able to decide on what feels good to me, what feels right to me, without worrying about, I guess you can say like monetary stuff like that, but those are some of the things that we still have to deal with day by day. But I think at the end of the day, it's more about like the safety and flexibility. I think those two are very important for me. And I felt like the the responsibilities that we have for ourselves and our family without everybody else judging me, right?
Right.
Or judging us. So I think I started to just simply learn that I am the person who will love myself the most, right? But I also need to instill that within my family. So to some degree, I feel like I'm rambling here, but I do feel that part of the American dream is really to be our best self, whenever possible, right? With the support of our community.
Absolutely. Very well said again. So, what is one piece of advice you would give business owners ready to scale through better branding and web strategy?
Always start with your goal. I feel like your goal is your anchor and your focus as well. It's so easy to see all the other sparkly things like, oh, I want to do that. I was like, oh, that is interesting. Let's try that. I was like, definitely focus. It is a very hard thing to do when you run a business. So definitely, find either, the right tribe or community or even mentors that can really help you focus on your business and get to the goal that you want, because at the end of the day you don't want to look back and says like, why am I wasting x amount of years or hours and so on and so forth doing x, whereas something in front of me is clearly working and it's driving result for you. So I hope that helps.
Yes. So, tell us, if somebody wants to work with you or they just want to reach out for mentorship or just learn more about you, your business, or your story, what is the best way to reach out?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today, sharing your story, your expertise. This was such a fun conversation. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun as well. I can't wait to just like have people listen to it. Thank you.
Yes, of course. As we wrap up this powerful conversation with Ari, remember your website shouldn't just sit on the internet. It should be your hardest working employee. Ari reminded us that with the right strategy, design, and clarity, your digital presence can become a true engine for growth. This is Anisha Jennings reminding you to build boldly, design with intention, and pursue your American dream with confidence. Until next time.